The rule of law has weathered many threats, but it remains sturdy. I hope and expect that the court will retain its authority, but that authority, like the rule of law, depends on trust. A trust that the court is guided by legal principle, not politics. Structural alteration motivated by the perception of political influence can only feed that latter perception.
Supreme Court Justice Stephen Breyer speaking on the issue of structural changes to the Supreme Court as President Biden forms a commission to examine expanding the number of justices. Let's bring in our panel. Harold Ford Jr., former Tennessee congressman and CEO of Empowerment and Inclusion Capital; Morgan Ortagus, former State Department spokesperson; and Bill Bennett, the former Education Secretary and host of the Bill Bennett Show podcast. Morgan, start us off tonight. Justice Breyer is warning against this idea of packing the Supreme Court, encouraging progressives and Democrats to think long and hard about it. Where do you come down on it?
So when I first heard about this executive order today, I thought there's no way they can actually be serious about this. Perhaps this is a way that President Biden is intending to pacify his liberal base by establishing this commission, and then, John, perhaps using it as an excuse why he can't pack the court because this commission has came up with a bipartisan consensus against doing so. I hope that's what happens, because if you look at what the far left wants, which seems to be controlling this presidency now at every turn, they want to end the legitimacy of the Supreme Court as we know it. They want to end the independence of justices. And you've got Breyer against it. You had Ruth Bader Ginsburg came out against this before she passed away. And so when you look at this, you have to say, why do they want to take an institution that has been above reproach, that has not been political, that has not been partisan, and why do they want to turn one of the only institutions that we have left that is not viciously partisan into an instrument of being a tool of whomever is in power? I would have thought the Democrats would have learned their lesson from 2013, but apparently they like learning the same lessons.
All right. Well, Harold Ford Jr., what do you think? Is this looking for a reason to expand the court, or is this looking for a reason to not give progressives what they're looking for?
So first, happy Friday, and thanks again for having me on. I think as we explore, as this executive order calls for an exploration of the number of justices and probably even the number of jurists on the various circuit courts, we'll learn, I think America will learn a lot about how our court system works, why we're the envy of the world, and why many of the things that Morgan enumerated are true about our system and about the checks and balances that we have. I tend to share Justice Breyer's view. But it will be interesting to hear, because this topic has come up amongst academicians over the years about whether or not each circuit should have the same number of jurists and how we have divided our federal judgeships across the country. So hopefully it goes through that and reinforces for all of us why the independence of our judicial system is so critical to a functioning democracy.
You know, before 1894, Bill Bennett, the number of justices in the Supreme Court did fluctuate from 5 to a maximum of 10. In 1894, it was set at 9. Do you see any reason to increase that number?
No, I'd like to echo. First of all, let me echo what Harold said. Thank you for having Harold on tonight. I appreciate that.
I win the bet, by the way.
Sorry, guys. Second, no, but I agree with him and I agree with Morgan. Don't mess with the court. Don't mess with the court size. Stephen Breyer is right, my professor at Harvard Law School. And look, the founders called it the least dangerous branch. And one of the reasons they called it that was because they thought it would be the least susceptible to politics. You start getting into this, we'll make it 10, 12, 14, then the Republicans get it in. The court will lose all its credibility, and the court has credibility. Not that people don't disagree with its decisions, even vociferously, but people listen to the court. If the American people get the sense that the court is just a political instrument, I think you're going to see people starting to defy court orders in ways that you haven't seen before. Preserve the integrity of the court. Not a good start to have appointed the chair of this commission, a very political lawyer, Bob Baer, who's doesn't have a reputation for judiciousness, but for political work.
Well, I can say with confidence that Stephen Breyer was not my professor at Harvard Law School, but he is under pressure from progressives to retire so that President Biden can appoint his own justice. Do you see any rush to get him out the door here, Morgan? Is there any reason to?
Yeah, the reason is that they have a Democrat Senate at the moment, and they would like to get a Supreme Court justice while they can. Saying that, you know, they tried the same thing reportedly even with Justice Ginsburg whenever President Obama was in office. She rebuffed those calls. And I think since the Supreme Court members are probably feeling a little bit of an attack on the judiciary at the moment, I think it's sort of the opposite reaction. It's like when you want your daughter to break up with her boyfriend and she's going to dig her heels in and stay with him. I think we might see a little bit of that.
Hopefully you've got a while before you have to worry about that.
Oh, Lord. She's not dating ever, no.
Well, she's not dating for a few years at least. Harold Ford Jr., do you think Breyer should be able to stay as long as he wants, or should he, for the good of the Democratic Party, step down?
Well, I think he should do what Justice Breyer wants to do. It's a lifetime appointment. I think we should not pretend that this conversation has not become more relevant because of what we thought was a rule in the Senate that you would not take up a nomination during a presidential election year. And then we changed that rule in 2020. We applied it in 16. It probably was the right thing to do, but then in 20, to do it in October, just a few weeks before the election, I think some people wonder and worried that things have changed, traditions should be followed. If they're not, then we should consider some other things. I think that's why we are where we probably are. But I agree with Secretary Bennett. The credibility and integrity of our judicial system, let's not harm that.
Bill, just a few seconds left here. The rush to get Breyer out the door seems that progressives don't have a whole lot of confidence that Biden will have much time to do it.
Yeah, well, the timing couldn't be worse. You know, the guy gives a talk and says, keep the court at 9, and then he's told to get out the door. Not good, doesn't look good. This is a very judicious and thoughtful man. He's a liberal. I disagree with most of his decisions, but that's the way the court works, and that's the way the court has worked for years. Let's not mess with that.
All right, folks, stay right where you are, because up next, the Friday Lightning Round, the CDC on racism and public health, plus winners and losers.
Tex-Mex.
Tex-Mex. Termites. Go back up! Hang on. I'm hanging on.
Don't mess up your deck with Tex-Mex. It's Terminex. Aye, the only way to nix it is to Terminex it.
I often check in on my mom, but when I can't, I head to care.com to look for senior care help.
Yes, I can drive her to the doctor.
At care.com, you can find a trusted caregiver to help your senior right nearby. Get the senior care help you need. Care.com.
Real Home Realizations by Realtor.com.
I just noticed something. The more air horns a song has, the louder my neighbor plays it.
Now that you've spent so much time at home, maybe it's time to find a new one. Realtor.com.
Not everybody wants the same thing. That's why I go with Liberty Mutual. They customize my car insurance so I only pay for what I need. Because I do things a bit differently. What, teddy bears? What, teddy bears, Hick?
Only pay for what you need.
Liberty, 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 liberty.
Scott's Turf Builder Triple Action kills weeds, prevents crabgrass, and feeds your lawn. All 3 in just one bag. I like that.
Scott's Turf Builder Triple Action. It's lawn season. Let's get to the yard.
The President's Infrastructure Package, up for debate?
We'll be open to good ideas and good faith negotiations.
So what will it take to pass with GOP support? Get must-see insight on Fox News Sunday.
Have you ever considered getting a walk-in tub? Well, look no further. Proudly made in Tennessee, a Safe Step walk-in tub is the best in its class. The 4-inch Easy Step keeps you safe from having to climb over those high-walled tubs, allowing you to age gracefully in the home you love. And now, back by popular demand. For a limited time, when you purchase your brand new Safe Step walk-in tub, you'll receive a free shower package. Yes, a free shower package. Now you can enjoy the best of both worlds. The therapeutic benefits of a warm, soothing bath that can help increase mobility, relieve pain, boost energy, and even improve sleep. Or if you prefer, you can take a refreshing shower all in one product, complete with a lifetime warranty. Call now to receive a free shower package with your brand new Safe Step walk-in tub.
1-800-929-2232.
I'm Sarah Evans, multi-platinum recording artist and a proud mother of 3. PCmatic protects my family with patented antivirus software designed to proactively stop ransomware. My kids love that PCmatic blocks annoying and malicious ads for hassle-free web browsing. It's important that PCmatic's servers, research, development, and support are all in the USA. The other antiviruses are made in foreign countries, some where the ransomware originates. Most antivirus slows your computer. PCmatic makes our computers faster. PCmatic protects Windows computers, including XP, Vista, Windows 7, 8, and 10, Windows servers, Macs, MacBooks, and Android phones and tablets. PCmatic is just $50 for 5 devices for 1 year with a full 30-day money-back guarantee. To get patented, award-winning antivirus that's made in America, go to PCmatic.com.
Instead of focusing on health disparities, which we should do because they're real, and COVID highlighted those, the CDC is doing the bidding of the Biden administration by once again inserting racism, and calling people racist for no reason.
There have been people within CDC for generations, I would say, that have recognized that racism is a threat to the health and well-being of the nation. But for the agency now to say that with one voice from the top is what is different. I think that it is amazing.
Controversy over the declaration last evening from the CDC director, Rochelle Walensky, that racism poses a public health threat to the United States. Also, big tech is at it again, deciding for us what we can and cannot see. And we're back with the panel for our lightning round. Rochelle Walensky saying last night, quote, racism is a serious public health threat that directly affects the well-being of millions of Americans. As a result, it affects the health of our entire nation over generations. These structural inequalities have resulted in stark racial and ethnic health disparities that are severe, far-reaching, and unacceptable. Harold Ford Jr., there are health disparities across America, to be sure, but are they because of racism?
Well, I think COVID unmasked for us demographically, rural, urban alike, where there are deficiencies, shortcomings, and lack of access. And there's no doubt when you drill down on some of this data, is uncomfortable, unfortunate, and as much as I would not like for it to be the case, race and income play roles in all of this. So I understand where Dr. Walensky is coming from. I think what we have to understand as a country is that education and healthcare and the kinds of jobs that people have, socioeconomically and racially, we can't ignore this data. We should pay attention to it and find ways to learn from this moment and hopefully grow from this moment.
Bill Bennett, so many things these days seem to be based on racism.
Yeah, well, for this administration particularly, again, I'll quote my friend Harold Ford from Wednesday night when we were on, when he said that we turn too quick to race as an explanation, and this administration does all the time. To a lot of people, when they heard race is a public health hazard, just doesn't quite parse. There are reasons for these disparities that Harold rightly talked about, but the reasons are many and manifold. I don't anymore believe that race by itself is a public health hazard than I believe that there's systematic racism. There are disparities, there are cases of racism. These claims are too grand, and when you get that kind of grand claim that the administration seems to be making across the board on a lot of things about race, I'm afraid you obscure the real cases of racism when they appear.
Morgan, your thoughts?
Yeah, I think the CDC needs to be an institution that everyone can trust, and so I would urge them to stay away from politically charged language. Saying that, I do agree with Harold that these outcomes are real for many people. I mean, I know when I was working very quickly on the COVID task force last summer, we saw how communities of color were disproportionately affected by COVID, especially for a time I was working with Hispanics in South Florida, saw how the multi-generational households are being affected. So they're real. I would just urge the CDC to stick to its mandate because we need trust in our institutions and not to feel like they're politicized during the time of a pandemic.
I want to get on to our second topic here, the YouTube, I sound like George Bush, YouTube taking down videos based on medical misinformation policy. One of those videos was a roundtable hosted by Florida Governor Ron DeSantis. The offending part of this, when they talked about whether or not masks should be worn. Listen here.
I think masks, in fact, in some ways they've been harmful because people
believe that masks protect them, vulnerable people, and they end up taking more risk than they ought because they feel like they're protected by something that actually does not protect them.
You know, Harold Ford Jr., Fred, you're the only one's going to get an answer on this particular part. Do we need YouTube to tell us what we can and cannot listen to when it comes to politicians and public discussion?
I'm a First Amendment guy. Unless someone is saying something that incites violence or goes too far, even if I disagree with them, I think it's okay for all of us to be out there. We at least get to learn what our public officials are saying that we agree with or disagree with. And I don't agree. I think people should wear masks, but I don't want officials and executives at YouTube determining what I can see or cannot see.
All right, let's move on to winners and losers. Bill Bennett, go ahead, start us off.
Yeah, my winner is Fred Ridley. He's the Masters chairman, not buckling to the woke crowd and Major League Baseball. My loser, unusual for me, but a close family friend pointed out that 20% of Americans do not have healthy drinking water. Drinking water, we talked about it in regard to Flint, really serious problem for a lot of Americans. Yeah. Let's address it. Infrastructure is supposed to. I don't know that it's going to in a serious way.
All right. Morgan, 15 seconds for you.
I'll be very quick. So winner of the week, the Islamic Republic of Iran. They're getting everything they want and not having to do a single thing at the negotiating table to get sanctions relief, apparently. Loser, Matt Gaetz. The Health Ethics Committee is looking into it. He's got multiple investigations. Not a great week.
All right. Harold Ford Jr., quick.
Winner, Dr. Martin Tobin, the pulmonologist, testified at the Chauvin trial. Compelling, strong. Paid his own way there, did not take a fee. My loser are American workers in manufacturing plants, particularly car, and those who want to buy cars because of the shortage of semiconductor chips. We need better supply chain and a big investment in infrastructure.
We got it all in. Great way to wrap up a Friday. Thanks, panel.